I'm back. Today I'm gonna try to make this look slightly less terrible. I don't know how well that's gonna go, but I think to make it better, I have to start to make it worse. So what am I gonna do? So I'm gonna just pick one of my renderers today and see if I can maybe clean up slash optimize. So I think I'm gonna start with the text renderer because that's the simplest one, I think. So yeah, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make two new files here. So I have this win Saguinus and .cpp and .h, and those are like win because they're specific to Windows. But I'm gonna make files that are just Saguinus.h and .cpp that will have all the gameplay code that is not specific to any operating system. It's just going to use only C data types and data types built within it. So that way, when I go to port it, if and when I go to port it to something else, it will be a lot easier, hopefully. In theory, I don't know how well that's going to go. But anyway, so I'm going to start with that. And I think by doing that, it's going to help me clean up the rendering part of it. Makes sense in my head. I don't know if it's making sense getting translated into the words that I'm choosing, but let's try. So this first file is going to be name of the game. Here's, I don't want to use capitals. All right, so there's the CPP file, and this one is the same thing, but .h. So this is gonna only get included once. And so this is going to have all of the data structures that are specific to just the game, not the operating system. This is all the functions that are gonna operate on that data. And so everything, the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna put everything into one big struct called game state. And then that is going to have everything that is needed to operate that game at that current frame. And it's going to get huge, I imagine. It's going to basically be its own little ecosystem of code here. And then so this, for just starting out, I'm going to have a static void. I'm going to call it update game state. And then it's going to take in a game state pointer. I'll just call it state because writing game state is going to get tedious. So then obviously I need to include this. I need to include its header file. Yeah, that's the one. So then over here, so that has all of that. So yeah, I want this to have all of it. So basically here I'm going to just include the CPP file. So that's basically like all of this code is getting put here above any of the operating system code. So it's not going to know about it at all. And same for this, same for the .h file. Right? I think, I don't know, let me just compile it before I regret that I did that. Okay, no, everything's still working. So, all right, so let's then now, I'm probably going to make a function to initialize it too. Static void initialize game state, and it's also going to take in a game state pointer. And I think pretty much every function I make in this file is just going to take in the same game state pointer and then just take whatever that function needs from that game state. I'm going to try it like that, and then I maybe have to do it differently if that doesn't work out, but you know, that's the way things go sometimes. Okay, so what I'm going to do to help clean up my text renderer is I am going to put in my game state a text buffer. And so whenever the game wants to render text, it's just going to fill that buffer with what text, where to render it, how big to render it, what font maybe when I get there. And then it's going to go back to the operating system, and the operating system is going to take that buffer, and then using the code that I already wrote is going to render all that text, but it's going to do it in a much more elegant fashion, presumably. Okay, so let's start with that. Let's start with a text buffer. And so inside my game state, it has one of those text buffers. So this is pretty much the way I'm going to do it. Uh-oh. I think everything's okay. I don't think the stream had stopped, but anyway, I'm recording it, so it will all get uploaded to YouTube anyway. Okay, so let's figure out what needs to be in my text buffer. So it's basically just going to be a array of strings, array of string buffers. So, and for now, I'm just going to hard code everything as an array. Like I'm just going to make everything predetermined in size and try to keep it that way as much as possible. And maybe just alter the sizes depending on whether I need more space or less space. And so that way I don't have to do any dynamic memory allocation. Don't have to try to remember to deallocate memory. It'll all just be put in the proper place. So that being said, let's make an S8. By the way, if I just put like a S8, does this know about that? Syntax error : H. Oh, yeah, that would help. Yeah, okay, so I have access to my custom data types here, which is good. So basically, we're going to have an S8 array called strings? I don't know. So let's say I could render each string, I'll say a 256 string, and each string is going to have 256 characters in it. Right? I don't think, starting from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, depending on the size of the font, you're not going to get much more than 256 characters. And again, if I need more space, I can just always increase that size. So that's the string. So then I need a bunch of, wait, it's probably floats. X positions. I always debate, so if you're naming an array, should you pluralize it, like as if that's what it is, or is it kind of obvious that it's multiple since it's an array? String, I'm going to pluralize it. Okay, so since everything is 256, you know what, I'm going to do this the semi-proper way. I'm going to make a constant variable. Constant F30, no. Constant U32. What do you call this? Max strings? Sure. Oops. And this is technically different, right? So let's see, max strings. And so this would be the max string length, 256. I probably want to just define those. I don't know. We'll see. Does that even compile? Nope. Do I have to put text buffer dot? That's going to be stupid. I think I do. Yeah, so that's not working. I'm going to just define them. How's that? That's better. Okay, so I have the total strings, I have the X positions, the Y positions, the scales, how big the text is going to be. Ba-bum. So how's the fonts going to work? I don't know. So a font has nothing specific to the OS except for this texture, which does have something specific to the OS, but I was planning to kind of abstract that away anyway. Like basically make it a void pointer and then parse it as, or I don't know, cast it as needed. I don't know, we'll see. I don't know if I want to mess with that tonight. So, all right, well, I'm just going to use the debug font anyway. It's the only font I have, so I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. I am instead going to, so is that it? I think that's it. So then here in my game code, so I could make a function here, static void add text to buffer. So then it's going to take in a string, needs an X position, a Y position, and a scale, so how big to make it. Oh yeah, also we need the game state. So from that state, I'm going to get my text buffer, call this buffer. That's going to be the state's text buffer, but I think I need the address of that. All right, does that compile? Yes, it compiles. So now I can just add all the things I'm passing into the function into that buffer, but I do need to actually, now that I think about it, add a couple of things. So I need a U32 total strings, yeah, just total strings. And so that's going to get reset after every frame, and then when I pass it in here, I'm just going to increase it by that state. So it's going to say now buffer do strings at total strings, but I can't just say equals string, right? Because that's not going to work. So now I have to copy it over. I'm just going to do it manually for now, and then I'll do it some smarter way later. Basically need a character pointer. So that's equal to string. So while that is not equal to that thing, I also need a counter. Add counter plus plus is equal to C, then we will increase C to go to the next character. Okay, so that should do that. I should copy everything over. That's not total strings, that's buffer total strings, right? Is that? Yeah, it's in there. Okay, so then once I add the string, then I can add the X position, the Y position, and the scale. So that is going to go like this. Buffer X positions at, let me get this out of there. Let me make this a little bit shorter. So U32, I'll call this IDX for index, is equal to the buffer's total strings. And then I can just put IDX everywhere. So that is now equal to the X that's passed in, more or less the same for the Y. And the scale, if I can take it correctly. And then I cannot forget to increase the total strings. So buffers total strings plus plus. Bam. Okay, so when I initialize the game state, all I just really, well, it's all going to be zeroed out anyway, so I don't really have to do anything with the text buffer, I don't think. So what else should I do? All right, so here, before I start my main game loop, I am going to make a game state. And just by doing that, everything gets zeroed out. And then that's really all there is to it so far. So all right, I'm just gonna for now delete everything I'm rendering right now. I don't really need to know any of this stuff. It's all working. Debug printer Y. So this is basically gonna get changed right now, or hopefully tonight. Just trying to think of how the best way to test this would be. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna tell it here. I'm gonna call my add text to buffer. Let's just put something here like test, and then we'll put it at 100, 100, make it scale by 5, and then we'll pass in the state of the game. And so now when I'm doing this, so after I clear my target view and my depth stencil buffer, I can now get the text buffer from there. So yeah, I'm going to change my render text function a little bit. I can't ever remember where I put it. There it is. So let's see. All right, so I'm going to call this render text buffer, and all it's going to do, oh, I need a color for the text as well. I should add that. So all this is going to do is just take in the text buffer, pointer to that. Let me add the color. So we need all that. Probably put that here. So now I need a bunch of colors. So I'll say colors, and that's going to be, I need max string number of those. So that means I need to also change this to take in a color. and add that color to my buffer. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the font, and so all this stuff's gonna happen, but now it's only gonna happen once, and I'm gonna render every string in that buffer having only actually set this stuff once, which will be good. That will be an improvement. So the vertex data, so here I'm mapping this, which is fine. That is all good. Yeah. All right, so I think basically starting here, I just want to iterate through all of the strings in my buffer. So I'm going to say U32, I is 0, I is less than, let's pull it out here. So U32, strct, I'll call it string count, and that's equal to the buffer's total strings. All right, so while I is less than that, we want to increase I. Start our loop here. All this stuff is getting looped. I don't think... Yeah, that happens too. Okay, so instead of X position, this is now the buffer's X positions at I. And same for you. Oops, that's Y positions. At I, there we go. Okay, so here where I'm making the scale, I actually got to pull that out of the buffer. So that's going to be scale equals buffer at scales at I. So that should get rid of that problem. And then, so that's building up my buffer. And then we unmap it, but we don't need to unmap it until we draw. So I think I had this a little early here. So just these two. Okay, and then that should also get the color from my buffer as well. All right, I don't know if that is going to work at all, but I'm going to try it. Oh, but no, this is going to make all the text the same color. I'm going to have to add that in later. I don't know, let's just see if this works at all. Oh yeah, wait, hold on. So then I want to make sure after I render the text using the buffer, where did that go? There we go. After I do that, I got to make sure that I put the total strings back to 0. That is how you get memory out of bounds exceptions. Okay, so I made my game state. I'm going to call here update game state. Let's see, after I update my camera, then I'm going to update the game state. And so then once I am done rendering everything, I'm going to take that game state and render the text from it. So render text buffer, and I'm going to get the address of the states. Oh, no, game state. Let's call it game state. Dot text buffer. Okay, let's see what kind of chaos that ensues. Sacles. Of course, that's not a thing. Okay, how about now? No, add text to buffer function does not take 5 arguments. That's right, it does not. So let's just make this text black. Text, undeclared identifier. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, duh. That would not be there. That would go here. So that would be the buffers. Strings at I. There it is. Oh my goodness, and it actually renders. That is cool. So yeah, so now here in my game, if I want to add more text, yo. So I can put this at like 300, make it smaller, and see, I don't think the color is going to work. I think it's going to just set everything to the same color. Yeah, so whatever the last color I pick is, that's what color. So I can fix that quite easily, but, or can I? What if I, okay, so what if I did this? What if I drew everything here? This is probably going to break something. I think I have to unmap the buffer before I start trying to draw stuff. Oh my god, that actually worked, and it's not like crashing or anything. Okay, so I guess I could get the color working. I just have to use the draw call a lot more. All right, that was cool. That actually went pretty well. Let's see what else. So that means, oh, I still kind of need to keep track of that. So I need to, how do I do the debug printing now? So basically I want to do all my debug printing from here, from my game's code. So I guess I'll make another function called add debug text or something like that, that will keep track of where to put the Y position and all that stuff. So that would mean, let me keep these together. So, okay, yeah, I just like made some floating or some, you know, just standalone variables here to keep track of that. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to actually put all of this inside of my text buffer. And I don't need static. Yeah, so here when I initialize my game state, let me get a text buffer, TV. It should be pointer equals to the address of state text buffer. So then I'm just going to say that this buffer's start, wait, what is it? What did I call it? This stuff. So the debug printer X starts at, what is that, 25? Oh, I guess I initialized it here. Okay, let me just copy all this stuff. Okay, so the debug printer start X started at 25. The debug printer Y started at the debug printer start Y. Oops. And so that means I should probably initialize that first. And that is whatever the, where did I initialize it? So the Windows height minus the debug print size times 15. So I guess I just made that up. So that's a good point. I should get the Windows width and height as part of my game state. So let's do that. Let's see. Where am I making that? Yeah, so here, I'll put it down below here. H-E-I-G-H-T, that sounds right. Oh yeah, here. Okay, so after I make my game state, I'm gonna just initialize the Windows width. So dot Windows width to my variable for the window width, and do the same for the height. So I'm just going to put some arbitrary value here. I'm going to say Windows height minus 50 for now. All right, so that's all fine. And then, so yeah, so now I'm going to make that function here that says static void add debug. I'm going to say so I would like to just call it something short like debug print, like I already have. And I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to just, because this is very weird the way I got this set up. So yeah, I would love to just have this in there in the other file, but it's got a lot of very specific things. That it's doing. But I can, okay, yeah, so this is what I'm going to do. I think I could just rename this to like win debug print. And I don't think it's going to mess anything up right now because I'm not calling it. What is going on? More than one storage class specified. Oh. I was in the middle of doing that. Okay, so that's fine. So now I can actually put here debug print, so static void debug. And it's not really accurate because it's not doing the printing, it's just adding text to a buffer. But it will get printed, so I'm going to keep it. And I feel like I'm going to be calling that function a lot, and I don't want to have to type something really long and expletive. So I'm going to copy all this and just take out what I don't need. So that, I believe it's all good. So yeah, instead of this buffer, what I'm going to do is, so it's got to take in the game state. I don't know if I have time to do this. Let's see. Okay, so just like I'm getting the text buffer here, I'm going to do that here. And so this is going to be buffer at, no, buffers strings at buffer total strings. And that, yeah. So I'm filling that buffer with this text here, or that part of the buffer, I should say. No, wait, oh yeah, wait, that's, yeah, that is the actual string I want to fill in. But no, hold on, sorry. I'm thinking about this all wrong. I do need that temporary buffer back. How much do I delete? All right, so let's, buff, I just called it buff. All right, I'm gonna put this to what is it? 256, because that's what the maximum is. Actually, I should just use the define. Max strings, no, sorry, max string length. Okay, so that's gonna go in there. So then the text is gonna go in there. Hard pointers there. All right, so instead of rendering text, what we're doing is we're gonna add text to the buffer, passing in our string. So the string that we're passing in is now buff at x, so that's the buffers debug, what is it called? Debug printer x. And that is going to be the buffers printer y, and then the scale is the same thing. Oh, hold on, so sorry, buffer, wait. Oh, okay, this is my debug thing, so yeah, okay, so yeah, I'm gonna hard code it for now. Just put 2, and then what else do I need? Color, so that all my debug font is gonna be black. And then the game state. Okay, so then once I do that, I just basically want to do this thing. What is it? Yeah, that's what I want. So that should be buffers. Debug printer y is going to get, oops, increased by, I'm just going to hard code it again. All right, so then once I am also rendering all the text, text buffer, this one. So just like I'm setting the total strings back to 0, I want to make sure I set the debug printer y equal to the start y. All right. So let's try this. Let's do debug print and testabaroni. And let's just see if that works. Nope, 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 it doesn't. Okay, so debug print function does not take one argument. Oh, because I got to pass in the game state. No, it's broken. Okay, why is that broken? So I am adding text to the buffer. Oh, I am adding a debug printer x. Oh, that's equals 50. That should be minus 50. Hope that was my only problem. No, it's not. So let's debug this here. So buffer debug printer x is at 0. Why is it 0? I'm setting it. Oh, I'm not calling initialize game state like a dummy. That would probably fix all of my problems. Not calling initialize game state, just not being a dummy. So yeah, I also want to, it's kind of dumb, I'm like initializing it twice, but it's all right. Initialize game state. Pass in the address of my game state. All right, there it is. So now if I call debug print some more, it all shows up in a row, and I can presumably do my, oops, that's not a percent sign, %f. Yeah, cool, that's working. I'm going to try to figure out a way to specify the decimal value or the decimal precision in here, because I put all these values here, but it's only putting 2 decimal values, which is fine for now, but I should be able to specify that. Okay, I think I made some good progress today. Didn't get everything cleaned up how I wanted, but it's off to a good start in my opinion. I put more code just to eventually get rid of more code than I added. But yeah, I think that's the way it has to go. And that's good. So let's save this here, git add everything, commit techm, created a game state, and started render cleanup. Git push it. All right, good work today, everybody. See you next time. Thank you.